Good evening and welcome to the Wakefield School Committee meeting of Tuesday, September 10th. We'd like to start our meeting as usual with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, thank you. I'm going to read our mission statement. The vision of the Wakefield Public Schools is to graduate students who are confident, lifelong learners, who are respectful and caring members of their community. Our mission is to prepare students for college, career, and community by providing rich and challenging curriculum, high-quality instruction, and educational experiences that meet their individual needs and interests. At this point, we have a slot for public comment. Seeing nobody from the public, I would like to move on to our Student Advisory Council members. So tonight we have Adriana, Samantha, and Logan. Welcome.
Thank you. First meeting back since the start of school, so we're a little bit in a shift right now. So not a ton going on, more like the change going back. We had a lot of sports today, so I'll start off with the sports. We had our first swim meet today and a volleyball game, and they're going on currently, so I don't have an update yet. But girls soccer just won versus Lexington today, so that was exciting. We had a football game last Friday versus Greater Lawrence, and it was really close. That was probably one of the most exciting games we've had in a while. But it came down to the end, 14-16. But this week we're going to be in Belmont at 6 away, so if anybody would like to come. First full week of school this week. We had picture day yesterday and today, depending on what English class you had, you would go down to the library. Everybody's just getting used to all their new classes. Freshmen are trying to find their ways around the school. Seniors kind of know what they're doing, just relaxing, kind of. We have class meetings tomorrow and Thursday to discuss the plans for the year, and I don't know, just go over major things that's happening in the school. And then probably one of the bigger things is the Swiss exchange students are coming Saturday, and they're going to come to school on Monday and Tuesday and shadow us. Well, I know more about this because I'm doing the Swiss exchange too, so if you have any questions. But so yeah, they're coming this week for 2 weeks, so that should be exciting.
How many?
I think total, it's around 20. So yeah, which is one of the biggest they've ever had.
Great.
For the exchange program, so yeah. And so yeah, that seems to be happening in the school right now. Probably have more next meeting because we'll be in the middle of school, or more in the beginning of school, so yeah.
So I thought, I heard nothing official,
Yeah.
but the rumor mill out there was that MIAA had said that all evening sports had to be moved up and there'd be nothing after dark. Had you heard that?
No.
Okay. So,
It's town by town.
town by
It's
town?
town by town, yeah. So if this is in reference to the Triple E,
Yeah.
right? So Eastern Equine Encephalitis, Triple E, right? And so depending on the town, the State Department of Public Health is putting out advisories, and that is using, what the towns are using as guidance to adjust their schedules. If they are in a high-risk zone, Wakefield is in a low-risk zone. And so we've been kind of watching that very closely, along with information that we've gotten back from Ruth Clay, who kind of advises us as well. She serves Melrose, Wakefield, and Reading. And so Wakefield is in a low-risk area, so they have not advised any changes to our scheduling at this point in time.
Great. I was going to ask you to speak because I know I talked to Principal McLeod about the students' involvement, but maybe you could speak to that.
Well, I I was actually a little more curious about you guys in particular. So I think, Adriana, you're a senior.
Yes.
So what are you looking forward to this year as a senior at Wakefield High School?
Honestly, I don't know. I think right now it's kind of like a weird change for us because we're not used to being the oldest people there. So sometimes we're looking around the hallway and we're like, wait, we're like the oldest people. Like, but honestly, I don't know. Just probably.
It just gets worse.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. Our class seems to be coming together more, so I think that's a lot of fun. I think just being the oldest too, just at all the football, like the football game was so exciting on Friday. I think we're all just getting more excited to be at all the sports games together and just probably being more unified than we've ever been before.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, yeah, probably just being the oldest. I think that's probably one of the most exciting things so far. But
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's terrific. And Samantha?
Yes.
Or do you go by Sam or Samantha?
Yeah, Sam.
Sam?
Mhm.
And Logan, what grades are you guys? Are
Yeah,
you
we're
a senior?
both juniors.
You're both juniors. So, Sam, what are you looking forward to for this year as a junior?
I think some of the more challenging classes,
Mm-hmm.
a lot more like APs are kind of offered this year, so it gives us a chance to kind of mingle with some of the seniors and some of the people taking higher level classes in our grade. So it's nice to get a good mix.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
that's exciting. And what do you think, Logan?
I think kind of finding what I want to do in the future, like learning from different classes and finding out what I really enjoy and what I like is going to be fun.
That's awesome. That's great. I mean, I may speak on behalf of the group here, but we're really looking forward to you guys being a part of our committee this year and looking to, get feedback from things that, would impact you maybe even more than us. And, all we ask is that you, share what you're comfortable sharing but be honest, and let us know sort of how things are going for you guys, particularly as we, discuss any issues that are, really going to impact you guys the most.
Yeah.
Sound fair?
yes.
Yeah.
Good.
Okay, go ahead.
So I just want to say thank you for doing this. It's not easy to give your time. We're super proud of you, right? And to hear, what Ms. Fortier is saying is, your voice representing not only yourselves but your classmates is really what we value, right? And kind of I think I've had the pleasure of meeting all three of you. And, if we can help you throughout the year, please don't hesitate to let us know.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
very proud of you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Nice job.
One thing that I know the principals talked to you about is, we are definitely looking for more than just a report about what's going on in the school. We really do value your input. So when we get into heavier discussions, especially about where money's going to be spent and what curriculum is going to be talked about or adopted or changed, that's we really value your input. If at all possible, we were hoping that one of you could plan to stay and participate in the meetings as they go along. I know there are times that you're all like Lily has her SAT prep tonight, so she can't be here, but we really would value that input, and don't be afraid to speak up. We've had some very vocal students in the past, and it really made the meetings a whole lot less boring. So, well, thank you and welcome. We'll look forward to working with you.
Thank you.
Consent agenda.
Move that the school committee approve the minutes of the August 27, 2019 school committee meeting and accept the minutes of the August 27, 2019 school committee policy and communications subcommittee meeting as presented.
Second.
Okay, motion's made and seconded. Any corrections, discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? That's unanimous. Great. And budget items. Ms. Bufagna.
So this is my first time presenting some budget reports to you as a group.
So I just wanted to call your attention to, this is the budget report as of August 31st. You'll just notice that we haven't encumbered the payroll yet. So what used to happen in the past is we used to encumber with a journal entry, but we're trying something new this year. We're trying to encumber with Munis. So we're working with our financial management system to encumber through our modules so that it'll unencumber with every payroll. So we're pretty excited about that. So hopefully by the next report, you'll see all the payrolls encumbered. We're still working on encumbering for the heat and electricity, so that you'll see that coming too. I don't know if you have any questions. The grants, the revolving accounts, we're expecting circuit breaker. We should probably know about circuit breaker in October, but we have an estimated amount of
What-
1.7.
What's the rumor mill?
We're hoping for 72% reimbursement rate. That's the word on the street, but we won't know probably for a couple more weeks.
I know there's always rumblings.
Yeah,
65.
yeah, we'll see.
Oh, jeez.
Hope for more.
Was that the same as last year, 72?
Yeah, yeah, usually fluctuates.
Yeah.
But didn't it come in payments?
Yes, it comes in 4 quarterly payments.
Okay.
Okay.
Yep.
One question I have, and you may not know because I didn't give you any heads up, in
Okay.
fairness, okay? On the revolving account for, especially the school lunch account, I know we spent money on the because there wasn't enough on capital, so we took money from that to pay for the freezers and refrigerators.
Yes,
Has
exactly.
that already come out of this?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, that's where you'll see the difference, yes.
So it's already come out?
Yes.
Okay, good. I was afraid it was going to come out, so, great. 'Cause I heard that project came out very well.
Yeah.
I was talking to Lisa Brown the other night. She was
Yeah.
very excited.
Yep, she's doing a good job.
And she is.
Okay, any other questions? See, it wasn't so bad. And do we have
First
payroll
one.
to sign tonight? Anything for us to require signatures tonight?
I don't have, no accounts
Okay.
payable
Great.
tonight.
Super. Okay. And next line item, I was looking for an update from Mr. Markham on the working group. How's that going?
The motion?
Oh, is there,
No.
is there- oh,
Payroll.
oh, there is payroll warrants. I thought there weren't any.
No
Okay.
accounts
For
payable.
signature. Okay, move that the school committee approve payroll warrant number 6 and number 8 as presented.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. All those in favor? Okay. So those do need to be signed, the payroll warrants, tonight, or no?
No.
Okay.
No, just a
Just
vote.
the approval.
Okay.
Mhm.
And then no gifts.
No gifts.
Okay. So, an update from Mr. Markham. Are we getting any response on the working group?
So we're about halfway through the period of time
Yep.
that we set. And there have been some responses. There's been a variety of emails come in asking questions and setting some people that have set their interests or said they're interested. So I think our time frame is probably working out okay.
Good.
We'll see where we land a week from Friday. The 20th is the deadline that we had established for voting at our next meeting on the 24th. So, well, we're about halfway through right now where we expect it to be.
Yeah. I was thinking that a lot of the various interest groups may not have even met yet to appoint the person.
Yeah, that's entirely possible. I honestly am not tracking who's meeting when,
No.
as we discussed at last meeting.
We have
People
nothing else to do?
Well, people have, they have the capacity to interact electronically by email. There's lots of ways to communicate within a, 3.5-week period of time if they're interested in that, so. I think we'll be okay. Plus, we certainly want to thank the Wakefield item. After our last meeting, they really gave the story full court press, if you will, and really built it up. I think they accounted for the meeting well as the material from the handout and so forth, so. I think
Great.
we're moving along okay.
Super. And the next item is just, tonight, we're just kind of distributing and getting started on the superintendent evaluation. The actual evaluation is going to be discussed and due back by the second meeting in October. So, this is a long time frame you have to work with this. And included in your packet is the whole rubric from DESE.
Yep.
And Mr. Lyons has provided his educator plans and instructional strategies to go along with that. We talked about with the supporting materials that he will be providing. I was just thinking back to the last time we did this with Dr. Smith, and by nature, we all know she's very competitive and very thorough, and I felt a little overwhelmed with the volume of paper that she gave us at that time. So what I asked Doug to do really was to provide like a bullet type of list rather than a three-ring binder. And that will give you an opportunity to ask him to expand on any particular bullets that might catch your eye or you might have deeper questions about. And the best time for you to do that is we are also encouraged to have a one-on-one meeting with Doug during this time frame. So you should schedule a time to sit down with him and discuss various points of interest to you so that you can have this form back to me. And I need it back, like, let's say, in between our October meetings to give me an opportunity to compile it, because we end up with a consolidated report in the end of all 7 members' input, but brought into one report. So I need a little bit of time to do that.
Do you have a date, actually?
What's the
So
second
the
meeting in
20
October?
Well, we have, October's funny
We
because
moved
of the
them.
holiday.
Right, so
So-
15
We're 15 and 29.
15, and yeah, and the
So
29th.
if you can have it back to me by the 22nd, that will give me a week to compile it.
So, and that means meeting with Doug before that, obviously?
Obviously,
And then
yeah.
the list of the bullets, is that something
I'll provide that to you
you
before
haven't
our
done it yet?
meeting.
Okay,
Right.
so that's something we can.
Be working on that, yeah.
Right.
But, I think having this go, I got a couple of people, because you've never done this before, a little overwhelmed and concerned that what was due when and that type of thing. But
Yeah.
this is a very long and thoughtful process. And we just want to, have something meaningful come out in the end.
And then the information in the packet was sort of like a,
Preview.
like a preview, a guide for us to kind of gauge different.
Exactly.
Right.
Okay.
So the rubrics contain the 4 standards, as well as elements and indicators. So each standard has a description.
Yep.
And there are elements and indicators under each
Okay.
that the Department of Education has just updated in 2019.
Okay,
Not only for superintendents, but for all district administrators.
okay.
So that's a reference.
Yep.
And, my kind of working assumption is, and in talking with Chris, is that, we have, under each standard, there can be an overwhelming amount of information, right? When we think about, curriculum alone. Last year, we had 3 presentations here for curriculum.
Yeah.
And under each element and indicator, under the curriculum standard, if you think about the volume of information, that I think one of the things that I need to be able to do is to summarize
Right.
the work that's happening in the district, what we're using as kind of the architecture or a guide for us, how the instructional strategy fits with our WPS curriculum review and assessment guide, how that fits with goals, both at the district and school levels.
Okay.
Yeah, so we can talk more about it as we go through.
Okay,
Yeah,
yeah, that's a lot.
it can feel like that, but the hope is
Yeah.
that if we're talking about it over, and we're meeting individually as well as discussing it here in the committee,
Okay,
that we can provide whatever information is needed to help clarify not only the work that has been done, but also the work that needs to be done.
great,
Yeah.
thank you.
Okay. And just as a point of explanation, like we didn't do this last year
Oh.
because Doug
Oh,
had
right.
just started. He
Mhm.
didn't have a year's worth of
Got it.
materials to be evaluated upon.
Okay. Makes sense.
Okay. And we already had our student representative, so I think that line item is covered. So we can move on to the superintendent's remarks.
Chris, did you have a budget update? You skipped over that
No,
on the agenda. No? Okay.
it's a standard item, but there really is no update.
Got it.
I don't expect to really have much of that until October.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Thank you very much. I'm very happy to report, we're back to school. It's fantastic to have students back. I know you guys are probably, I'm hearing from some students that the biggest adjustment has been just the schedule and that it's hard to get up in the morning. Pretty close. Yeah. So I've heard that from parents and from students and from some teachers as well. But yeah, but it's really great to have you all back in the building. But to start the school year on the September 3rd and 4th, those were professional development days. We met as an entire district. All of the employees in the district met on the 3rd to kind of kick off the school year. I had some brief remarks. Will Cavaneris had some brief remarks. And I think it was the energy in the room was just fantastic. There was an a cappella performance to kind of kick off the year. And the feedback that we've gotten is that the student performance was an amazing way to end that meeting. And again, the energy in the room was terrific. Teachers went back to their schools on the 3rd, worked with their administrators. We had some professional development on the 4th, as well as there was some time for teachers to spend some time in their classrooms, which is so important to them, just to prepare every little detail for students to come in and get ready. So that's what happened on the 3rd and the 4th. First day back was September 5th. I had the good fortune, I rode on one of our school buses. I went to a stop downtown at the corner of Princess and Main and got on bus 5 with the Woodville students. I had the good fortune of meeting bus driver Pete, who I was surprised that Pete knew every single student by name. Not only did he know every student by name, do you know bus driver Pete? And so he's a little bit of a celebrity. And it was really impressive. And so he knew every student by name. He knew how many students he was picking up. If a student was missing, he would ask, where's your brother or sister? Where did Victor go? Did he move? Where is everybody? And so while he was talking with students, greeting parents, and kids are getting off and on, he was also kind of explaining to me about, what parts of Wakefield. We were out by, is it Treasure Island? Not Treasure Island. Pleasure Island. Pleasure Island, and he used to go there. It might as well have been. It felt like it. And so, but he was explaining how he used to go there when he was a youngster, and he also has grandchildren in the school system. Just really, I did not suspect for a moment that our bus drivers, any of them, were this knowledgeable and this skilled. They were amazing. And I called the bus company just to kind of let them know what a great way to start the day it was. And they were surprised because they had said that they've never had a superintendent. I got passed around to about 10 people because they thought it was a complaint, to be honest. And finally I got through to the owner of the company, and they were really pleased. But to bus driver Pete, thank you very much for all that you do. Not only was I so pleasantly surprised and had such a great experience, I think our kids have a great experience on that bus every day. So thank you. But I got off at Woodville, started my day there. We have a new administrator there, new principal, Matt Carter. And again, the energy and feedback from parents and from faculty there was really well received. I think they're really working hard at it. And I made my way around to every school in the first 2 days and got feedback from parents. We saw new kindergartners coming in, and I think I really, as an administrative team, we really can't thank teachers and faculty and staff in our buildings for just welcoming students back in such a positive, significant way. So thank you for that. But that's just a very quick update on the opening of school. This is our first full week. At the end of this week, I'll probably have, or in our next meeting, I'll probably have a little bit more to report as we kind of get our footing, and as we move through the schedule. Just a quick personnel update. So we are interviewing for our director position for our METCO program. So we're in the process of accepting applicants. We've gone through a series of interviews. We have some more interviews at the end of this week. And the hope is to come up with a plan to offer that position to a new director. And if we're unable to secure a new director, then we hope to have an interim for that position for the remainder of this year. So I'll have more information to report on that. Also, as part of the interview process, we've had a member from the Boston office, from METCO, come out to Wakefield to participate. Deb Ward was here working with us. And while the director position has gone unfilled, Angela Driggers, who works over at Greenwood, has been filling in as the interim director. So she has, when Joelle took a leave last year, she filled in for him then. And so she's been just a terrific resource for us there. So we are also in the process of hiring a second nurse. We hired one new nurse at Wakefield Memorial High School. And so we're in the process of securing a second. I'll have more information on the names of those people once we kind of complete their hiring packets. I'll be able to report that in our next meeting. So we are also interviewing or collaborating with Reading to fill our food service director position. So we have an IMA with Reading, so we share a position for our food service director. And so we had someone secured, and the person decided to stay in the district where they were. And so they kind of pulled out in late August. So the good news is for us that we have Lisa Brown, who is filling in as an interim while we're working with Reading to go through the interview process to fill that spot. But that's just a very quick personnel update. At the district level, the majority of our spots at the school levels are filled right now, which is terrific. And so I also need to report that on the 29th of August, we had a parent meeting in Boston for our METCO families, and we had every administrator, every school administrator from the Wakefield Public School System at this meeting. And the feedback that we got from parents and students was just really overwhelming. They had said that some of their other children had gone to some other districts, and they had never felt this level of kind of personal attention, and they appreciated that every administrator, every principal, every assistant principal, as well, the athletic director was present. He came out to talk about athletics. So this was kind of a very personalized meeting where parents could speak to their school administrator by level. So it was done really well. But that's kind of where we're at, and that's what I have to report to date. There'll be more information to fall. I don't know if anyone has any questions.
Just have one. With the nurse, was that in the budget from last year? That
So this is
higher?
not a new position.
Oh, it's not?
No,
Oh,
this
it's
is
a replacement?
yes,
Okay.
yes. So it's not a new position. You might be thinking of 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
So we added a nurse position 2 years ago.
Okay.
So that position's still in the budget.
Yeah.
This is just someone that has left, so it's a
Okay.
position that is vacated, and we had one retirement, one position was vacated, so we're filling both right now.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
The
Yeah.
nurses need to come to the school committee?
Excuse me?
The nurses need to come for approval of the school committee? I think
No.
they might.
No,
No? Okay.
no.
I thought it was one of
Unless
those
they've
nuances.
changed,
I thought it was one
unless
of
they've
those
changed
nuances.
the
that-
Mass
that-
General
I
Law,
thought it
which is a
was-
possibility.
I thought it was the superintendent, the
change it?
business
Tom?
manager, and nurses.
So nurses?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I thought. We do have to approve them.
Okay. So we'll have to unhire those nurses. No, and so, yeah, so before we finalize this, so we're still, again, working through the employment packets right now, so maybe it's a great point and it's a good catch, and we can have that, we can move that to the agenda for our next meeting?
Yeah.
Sound like a plan?
Yeah.
Good.
I just remember one of those nuances, it's the superintendent, the business
Thanks, I asked
manager,
Tom
and the-
because Tom is.
He is a business
Yeah,
manager.
he's in this, yeah.
But nurses come under that same thing.
Yeah. Thanks for the feedback. Thank you.
Okay. On subcommittee reports, I have nothing to report for finance facilities. We'll start meeting in October. Give Christine a chance to get, settled, get her Munis working. And I believe Mike is coming back to help with the October report, right? So, okay.
Yes.
Yeah, that's what I thought I heard. Okay. Labor, anything new?
No, not really. We're exchanging emails with Unit A and having some planning and conversations, but we too won't be meeting in earnest until a couple weeks from now. But nothing new since last meeting.
Student services.
We have not met, but we plan to meet on September 24th.
Okay. And policy.
So we met tonight prior to this meeting, and we spoke a little bit about, there were two policies that we kind of prioritized that needed to take a look at for kind of as a priority coming out of last meeting, which is around bullying and harassment. We're waiting on updates from from legal, and so we did not do anything on that yet, other than talk about that we'll be getting documents back from legal, and then we'll be reviewing them. We did spend some time looking at the existing social acceptable user policy for social media, and it is a dense document that needs to be kind of taken a look at, and so we're going to be spending some time kind of unpacking that and making it a little bit more consumable for the folks who need to read it and consume it and sign off on it. And we spent a little bit of time talking about getting our mission statement for the group kind of finalized. We just have started some back and forth on that. We hope to have that kind of a little bit more firmed up after the next meeting, which we do not have scheduled yet. We do, and I mentioned this at the last meeting, want to put on the table for, I don't know, you put it on the table for 2 weeks, right? So we're putting it on the table for consideration by the committee. We will vote on it at the next meeting. And all of you got the finalized version of it, which isn't super helpful because you don't know what was changed. So I'm going to talk really quickly about what was changed.
So I can help as well if you need me to.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, there's two minor changes, actually three minor changes. In that first paragraph, it's removing two references to food allergies, and so now it just reads, the prevalence of reported allergies has continued to increase, and then the next sentence, those children diagnosed with an allergy are at significant risk. So that's one change where it was kind of genericized, I would say.
But I also would add that, our allergy policy and the reference that we're looking at changing isn't just about food allergies.
Right.
It's about all allergies that affect kind of the life function and the safety of children in our schools.
Right, so the title of it also, I think, may have been, actually, no, it's not, it's life-threatening allergies.
Right.
So we're making it a general policy to cover all
Right.
allergies, not just focus on
Right.
food. Food is included. In fact, the other change that was made is in this school-wide exceptions, about 10 rows down. The use of food as a reward in any classroom shall not be permitted, are the words that were changed. It used to read, shall be excluded were the old words, and it now says shall be permitted. Yep.
Yeah.
So those are, or shall not be permitted, yeah. I think those are the only changes, Doug, is that right?
I think you're spot on. And so one of the things, there are only very few changes, but one of the things that's important is just to let the community know and let the committee know that this is policy 1010R. It's life-threatening allergies in the school setting. And what we're looking to change, there's a hyperlink at the bottom of the page, And when you go to the hyperlink, that brings you to the document that we're looking to change. What prompted this conversation for the subcommittee is just us really thinking about, are we doing everything that we could be doing to make sure that the adults that supervise children, they have the best information possible. So we thought it would be appropriate in looking at when this policy was adopted and reviewed, we thought it would be appropriate to have it reviewed, which is what prompted those 2 minor changes or 3 minor changes. In addition to that, we've also changed the professional development modules that all teachers kind of use to start the school year or participate in to start the school year in terms of giving them the best information and training to best support our students. So kind of those 3 changes, they're small changes, and they don't represent a larger conversation that took place at the subcommittee meeting that really kind of prompted us to review the allergy policy in its entirety, one, and to think about professional development and how we're supporting teachers to support kids. So, is that fair?
Yes,
It's probably a lot of information.
much better explanation than mine.
But this document is intended to replace the one that's there.
Correct.
Could I ask why we're calling it process then?
Why we're calling it process.
Was it like the way it
Oh.
said that before?
Yeah, look at that.
So I think that it just wasn't changed. So the word process was present before our changes were made and reviewed. And so the word process was there, and I think that it doesn't change the substance
Well,
or the practice. So
No,
if it's
but-
distracting, we can certainly delete it.
Well, I guess in my mind, the
Yeah.
way my
Yeah.
head works, is we have policies
Yep,
that the school committee writes, and then the superintendent writes a process to make that policy happen.
right.
So I don't want the 2 things to get confused. If this is the policy, it's not the process. And I think the process word should just come off.
I agree.
So I think it says process because this is actually the implementation
Yeah.
of the policy.
So it's not the new policy then? That's
So
why I
this is
started asking that.
This is a newly written policy, this is a newly written policy implementation guide.
So we're not changing the policy.
So if we're changing a hyperlink that's
See the
part of our
question there.
policy, then the answer is yes, we are.
So the policy is this front page where we don't have any modifications,
Right,
and it does not say process.
Right, so
But
we're
when
not,
you link to the document at the bottom of the policy, it is going to link to this document that we have changed.
which is the process.
Which is, it does say the process, and it does say policy implementation.
Okay, so we're not changing the policy, we're changing the process.
okay. So
I just want to be clear
I-
what we're changing, you know?
Yeah, so page 1 on 1010R is so brief that it doesn't contain the policy, right?
Right.
And so if you go to the hyperlink, it says allergy in the school setting process, right? And there are 4 hyperlinks. There's allergies in the school setting, which is the implementation guide or process by which we will execute the policy. There's Appendix A, there's a vendor sign-off. Appendix B, a guide to food procedure for groups. And Appendix C, allergy, ECP. And so,
So I guess my point is, when we reviewed the policy book a few years ago,
yeah,
the policy was written specifically that in the event you needed to change the process,
yeah.
the process doesn't require a school committee vote. The policy does, but the process is the superintendent's.
Okay,
So, as far as I know, and correct me if I'm wrong,
so,
you have the right to implement this at any point without our approval.
but I hear you, and it makes technical sense. I think it feels like we're talking about the same thing. Or,
Okay.
because in the policy, as it's written, policy 1010R, it states, "The Wakefield Public Schools and its employees will follow the life-threatening allergy process." and there's nothing else listed here. So if there's nothing else listed in the policy, and you have to go to the process to find out what that information is, then I think it is part of the policy. And I think our attorney would argue that it's part of the policy. Because you can't have one without the other, right?
Okay.
Because they're kind of, they're linked. But I hear you, and
Yeah.
and your point is I think well made. If we're changing policy, it's not, policy is the purview of school committee, process is the purview of the superintendent. And so, but I think in the way that this is written, in fact, the way it's chunked out, is you can't have one without the other.
Okay. Tom?
So I understand all of this now. I would think that getting back to Chris's, I guess, your first question, which I think was what started this with the word process on the top of the page, that should be policy instead of process.
Yes.
To me, this appears as an entire document, that is a policy document. If the two things are linked together, even though there's a hyperlink in between,
Right.
they're both policy documents.
Right.
And I think that it should be the school committee, if I'm looking at many of these bullets, that create the policy, frankly, that doesn't necessarily give the superintendent or the principals the ability to not comply.
Right.
For example, the no bake sale thing, if that now becomes a discretionary item of the superintendent,
Yikes.
we're
Right,
back having
right.
a difficult conversation.
Right.
Whether I'm a bake sale guy or not I think it's a policy matter,
Yeah.
whether we allow bake sales, or the peanut thing, or anything. So I think to your first question, Chris, about process and the heading, it should be policy.
Right.
In my opinion,
I
that should
just-
be
I'm just
life-threatening
looking for clarity.
allergies in a school setting policy.
So we can make that change.
Yeah.
Is that,
That's, I just think, we just need to be clear about what it is we're doing. And if this is going to take out the existing policy and lay this in instead,
Yep.
I'm okay with that.
good.
Yeah.
But we need to make it say that.
So we'll make that edit, and we will distribute it, we'll email it back to the committee for review for a period of a couple weeks.
Okay.
Could I also either ask or suggest, and I don't know, I don't want to be inconsistent with other policies, but there's lots of bullets. Could they be numbered? I think if any reference, it's going to be easier to say number 10 than to say the 10th bullet down, just as a housekeeping thing, if I may.
Sure, for me, that's a formatting issue. I think
Yeah.
that's a reasonable ask.
So this would wipe out the hyperlink.
No. The hyperlink would exist as it has, but we would change the words, say life-threatening allergies in a school setting policy. And then the first header would be policy implementation. And instead of bullets, we would have numbers.
I guess I'm just not understanding then. If this is indeed the policy,
Yeah.
then when I look on the
The hyperlink should go away.
policy, sort of
1010R,
right, the
which is from the
handbook
list,
on the
right.
website,
right?
when I click on it, I would expect to see the policy itself, not a hyperlink to it, because I don't necessarily think I would think to click on that.
That first hyperlink should go away, because this is taking its place.
The hyperlink also has forms on it. That's the only problem. So we could put this policy in here
And then
and
all
then
the.
link to the,
Hyperlink
and
the
then link
forms.
to the forms.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Sure.
And that, it just seems clear to me. If-
Good. That's terrific feedback. Yeah.
And could I ask one other question? Is this, so it says life-threatening allergies in the school setting, and then the discussion around it is all about the kids. Do we have safeguards for, the staff who work in the schools against life-threatening allergies? Or, I guess I'm just wondering, some of our policies do include not just students, but staff. And I'm wondering if this is one of those policies that, you know, we should sort of include? Make sure staff are protected, or does that exist somewhere else?
So
You know, in the staff,
I think if
handbook or
a
something.
professional works for us and they need an accommodation, they usually provide that information,
okay.
right? And that's part of our employee support or employee information. This policy is for our students,
Okay,
and so, yeah.
yeah. As long as there's this place for that sort of, you know, recognize that that might be a need of
Yeah.
an individual. It's probably the best place to work, though, is in a school that, you know,
Yeah.
has this policy, probably safest.
Okay. Any further comments? Okay, so that will be on our agenda in 2 weeks. Okay. Future dates and agenda items.
Hey, Chris, do we have to make a motion to put it on the table?
Oh, I thought we already did, I'm sorry. Yes, make that motion.
Move that the school committee lay on the table for consideration at the September 24th, 2019 school committee meeting, policy number 1010R, life-threatening allergies in the school setting as presented.
Second.
Okay. We've had our discussion. All those in, yes.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, I would suggest that should be as amended or as revised, because as presented, we've just changed it.
Correct.
Okay,
Reread it.
reread it, please.
Move that the school committee lay on the table for consideration at the September 24th, 2019 school committee meeting, policy number 1010R, life-threatening allergies in the school committee setting as amended.
Second.
Okay. All those in favor? Be unanimous. So, future dates and agenda items. Does anybody have anything? Okay. I have a couple of things. A reminder that the joint meeting for the town council, the FinCom, and the school committee is confirmed for October the 17th, which is a Thursday. Going to be at the Galvin Middle School at 7, I believe.
So, just a clarifying question, if
Yeah.
I may, Mr. Chair? And so we're meeting on the 15th as a committee?
Yep.
And the 17th as a tri-committee, tri-group, and then again on the 29th.
Correct.
Good, thank you.
Okay. Now, one thing we had bantered a little bit about, which I think probably is going to have to wait, especially since we don't have a Metco director. We had talked about having our Metco meeting in October.
Yeah, well, last year we had it in November, I
Yeah,
believe.
so it's not, but we had mentioned October. I
Yeah,
think we're going to have to push
you're
it off.
spot on, yeah.
Okay. A reminder that I believe all of us received an email about a Metco workshop that's going to happen, featuring a speaker, Jane Elliott, on October 12th from 4 to 8 at the Strand Theater on Columbia Road. There is a $50 admission, unless you want to be a VIP, and you can pay $200. But just a reminder that that's out there. Another agenda item I would like to talk about is, at this point in time, is my understanding, and Doug, you can correct me, that about 50% of the schools surrounding us are now at an 8:30 start time for their high school.
Surrounding us.
Reading just went to it.
Reading just went to it,
Stoneham,
Stoneham, correct? So it's my understanding that in the Middlesex League,
Watertown, I think. maybe?
it's my understanding in the Middlesex League, of the 12 districts,
Hmm?
that 5 of the 12 have made the change to a late start.
Okay, not quite 50%, but.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. So,
That's Middlesex, that's not our Dart or our St. Right.
okay. But we have, it's come up with this committee in the past.
Yep,
We've kind of briefly looked at it and decided that it wasn't going to work. But now we're seeing other communities go with it. I'd like some information as to how that's working for them. Pros and cons.
sure.
And if it's something, discuss again, if it's something we should be considering. I don't know if impacts labor or not? Probably does.
Probably.
So,
I would think, we have to talk about that, yeah.
Isn't there some type of side letter in the Unit A's contract about start time? So if there is, then it
yeah,
would definitely
I'm
impact
thinking-
labor.
I was pretty sure there was. So,
Yeah.
John-
but,
It would certainly be something we would need to discuss.
yes, so I'd like to begin, there's no sense in discussing it with labor if it's something we don't think we even want to do. So I think we should probably start there. But I'd be interested in hearing how it's working for other communities or not.
No, I'll be happy to talk about that. I think,
I've gotten mixed feedback from some parents so far, so.
good.
Chris, if I remember that conversation from a couple of years ago, I believe that one of the things where we were concerned was the bus schedule and the costs involved with that and our inability to kind of fund busing that would make sense, right? Because sending elementary school kids super early, like swapping elementary with high school, just didn't feel like a good answer either. And I think there were costs involved with that. So I agree that talking about that now would be a good
I think we
time
just
to
need
do
to have the
it.
discussion. I mean, I'm one of the drawbacks I hear from some of the parents is that it makes it difficult for the high school parents to continue to do any drop-off because it's too late, they're missing their start of work.
Yep.
So it complicates things on that level for some of them too, so.
So this has layers to it, and I think Susie is just starting appropriately to start
Yeah.
with the layers, right?
Mhm.
And so, where siblings watch other siblings, it can affect families. It can affect bus schedules. It can affect athletics. And in a lot of districts, us included, it affects labor because it is part of our collective bargaining agreement, right? And so these are things that are all kind of parts of the whole that we can discuss. But I think, Chris, starting with, learning from the districts that are in it,
How's it going?
how it's going, I think that's a conversation that we can certainly have.
Great.
So just in terms of dates, Chris, October 19th is a Saturday evening. It's the Wakefield Metco 50th anniversary celebration. And so there'll be more information coming out about this.
Yeah, I saw my calendar, but I hadn't received anything, so.
Yeah, and so Joelle, I think, should have sent you all an email.
A while ago. It's on my calendar, but I don't have any real
Yeah,
further
and
information
so,
about it.
We have, a date, a location. It's in Boston. It's at 575 Warren Street, at the Therma Burns Building. It's in Boston. It's from 4 to 7 p.m. And so I will be sure to kind of get you the hyperlink with the Evite so that you have it and have that information.
Is that a ticketed event, do you know?
There's a cost to get in, and you can order your tickets online. I don't know that they'll just make sure that, when you're a school committee member, you should be fine, and we'll get you tickets and we'll get you squared away. Yeah. Make sense?
Super. Thank you. Okay. School committee comments. Let's start with Tom. Nothing? Okay. Colleen?
Just welcome back to school to everyone, students, staff, parents. Happy to enter a new year with energy in the building, so welcome back.
Mr. Markham?
Just an echo for what Colleen said. Welcome back, everyone. Have an awesome year.
Ann?
I'm all set, thank you.
Susie?
Yeah, so I received a couple of emails from a couple of parents regarding the scheduling of the school pictures at the Galvin on one of the Jewish holidays. Good news on that is that they were able to quickly kind of change that and remedy it. But I know it certainly left kind of a bad taste in a couple of families, not more than a couple, some families' mouths coming out of the conversation last spring of kind of looking at the calendar and publishing the calendar and being kind of really straightforward about which days administrators and leaders need to avoid. And so I think it would be unfair of me not to kind of mention the disappointment that families felt, the disappointment that I felt. But the good news is remedied very quickly, right? That was taken care of even before the first day of school and was communicated out, I think maybe Friday, that they had changed the day. It just feels like we've got more work to do there, right? Of making sure that leaders are looking at that calendar and taking that really seriously. One of the parent email that I got that said, imagine that your child isn't a part of the class picture where on that day they are out of school observing their religious holiday and the rest of the kids are in that class picture and they're not there. And I thought, honestly, that didn't even occur to me. I just was thinking, wow, that's kind of a pain that they're not getting their picture taken when every other kid is, but the class picture you should be a part of. And so even I kind of didn't have the initial reaction. I certainly was disappointed, but I hadn't connected that dot of, and that was her daughter's response was, I wouldn't have been in the class picture if they had kept that day. So I think we have more work to do there. On the flip side, I had two very excited seventh graders that were getting ready to go to the Galvin who could not wait to get to school and had a great first couple of days. And I really feel like that's a testament to kind of what's happening at the Galvin, the teachers there, the excitement that my kids feel about going back to school. And it's I feel very lucky that I have children that are excited about going to school and to see their friends and to see their teachers and to get going. So I think there's great work happening clearly in this district, that we've got kids that are thrilled to get back to school. So thank you, teachers and leaders.
Okay, thanks. Amy?
Just welcome back, everyone, and to our new student advisory members. Thank you and welcome.
And, I just had the pleasure of attending a couple of staff or meetings before school started. With the first one was with all the new staff, and then I was there for the beginning of the back-to-school meeting with all staff. I did have to get to my real job. But it was exciting to see all the, old faces with the new faces, and it just seemed like a lot of energy in the room, and I was really happy to be part of it. Thank you. With that, a motion to adjourn.
I move that the school committee adjourn its meeting of September 10th, 2019.
Second.
All those in favor? That would be unanimous. This meeting is adjourned.